So, hello everybody, here we are with a pre-Christmas unboxing of Mansions of Madness, the second edition. The Mansions of Madness second edition recurring nightmares, figures and tile collection, and the Mansions of Madness suppressed memories figure and tile collection. Now those of you who've been following my channel for a long time have probably seen my Arkham Files sit down, which I did I think about 2 years ago. I'm going to link to it in this video, where I talked about the different games that Fantasy Flight has brought out with regard to Arkham Horror, Lovecraft, and back then I said Mansions of Madness was the one game that I wasn't going to play and I had no interest in playing because it is played opposed. You have a dungeon master or a GM and then you have the players, and so since I solo a lot of my games, this game simply isn't for me. Now, like with Descent, FFG have taken a different approach with Mansions of Madness this time on the second edition, because this game is fully cooperative and you play it against an app. And this app you can either download for Apple products, Android products, or on Steam for your PC. And this means that I can finally play this game. So, this is the base game. And it essentially re-implements, as far as I know, Mansions of Madness, the first edition, with several changes. And for Mansions of Madness first edition, there were two expansions, or two big box expansions. One was called The Call of the Wild, and the other one was called Forbidden Alchemy. And they all came with tiles. Now, these tile sets have been re-implemented in the Mansions of Madness Recurring Nightmares and Suppressed Memories tile sets. Now, you don't need these to play, but if you have these, or if you have the old expansions from the first edition, you can actually use more of the app-driven scenarios because they use these tile sets. So let's see what's in the box. Now this, unlike other Arkham Files, comes with miniatures. Now, as you know, I do a lot of painting for miniatures and I've got a lot of miniature-based games, but I've heard that these miniatures are actually quite terrible. So I don't know if this is really true and what the quality is like. I don't expect it to be as good as GW, of course, but we'll see what we see when we open it. So when we open the box, first we get a Mansions of Madness stop. It tells you that you require the free digital companion app. We get our little booklet, catalogue, we get the Learn to Play, and we get the rules reference. Now I saw these two, this split in two with Arkham Horror, the LCG, which is not a very good game actually, in my opinion, and it was split into Learn to Play and Rules Reference. For the Arkham Horror LCG, I felt that this split was actually detrimental to learning how to play the game. Hopefully this is going to be better. Having said this, I've watched several people play this game online, so I think I have a fairly good idea of how it works. So here we've got the tiles. It's a big stack of tiles. And also monster cards, monster markers if you like. So these are the descriptive tiles which tell you what the monster is about. Here we've got the bases. Now the way the bases work for Arkham Horror, for Mansions of Madness, is they are almost rectangular and you put the monster on top and then you slide the monster description tile back into this holder, if you like, at the back. Now, I don't like this actually, and I know a lot of people don't like it either because it damages the cards. At least it did in first edition. So here are now the monsters themselves, which you obviously have to glue onto the bases. Let's see. Yeah, I can see what they mean. They are, yeah, it's brittle. I mean, it doesn't feel... I mean, I've got the... so this is a Star Spawn, and it just feels very brittle. Yeah, I mean, I've just unboxed the the Descent second edition, and as you saw that the quality is much different. And this doesn't compare to the D&D miniatures either. So yeah, I understand what they mean. I mean, this is a really nice miniature, don't get me wrong, but it's very brittle. I would hate to play with it. I might even base this one just for fun, because they're big enough. But yeah, you see, you know, this one won't even stand up because the wing is underneath the foot, so you would have to bend it a little bit. Yeah, could be dicey, could actually be damaging the thing. That's probably a Night Gaunt or a Hound of Tinderloss. Probably a Hound of Tinderloss, who knows. I mean, they are fairly big, and if you were to paint them, you would probably get really good results very easily. I might actually paint them, but I don't know. Yeah, so this is, having said this, this is the Cultist, and the Cultist is actually quite good. I'm not unhappy about those. So I think I understand people who criticize the quality because it does feel cheap. But then again, you know, it's... yeah, and I think the main criticism I have is you would still need to have the cards somewhere, so I'm probably going to just take the monster chits and put them into these standees, which a friend of mine made me, and you can just slide them in the back and then move them around. It's easier probably, but I mean, yeah, I understand why people criticize them and they don't feel too sturdy. I might actually just, you know, I might actually take this star spawn. Yeah, this one actually needs to be cut off because you can see this knee is actually really poorly done. Yeah, I don't know. That's really not good. But I don't think I'll bother with them anyway. I will actually use the cards, and because you can just as well place the cards. Now here we have the investigators. And this one doesn't open either. There we go. So we have, again, very, and here you can actually see he's not carrying a stick. This is not a stick he's carrying, but it's actually flash, which needs to be cut off. So yeah, I see, I mean, they do kind of remind me a little bit of the very infamous and much hated Finecast GW miniatures. I suppose that the investigators are actually okay. And somebody has remarked that they believe that they are a different quality, and I think I tend to agree. So let's see what we've got here. We've got, yeah, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 investigators. I will probably actually spray them today because we've got lovely weather. It's cold but dry. So I'll probably spray them today, and I will probably paint them over the Christmas period because that's going to be a nice paint job. That should be easy. Nothing much to worry about, you know, just give them a once over and then do some inking on them and they'll be fine. Here we've got the dice, custom dice, D8s with investigation signs and elder signs. If you roll an elder sign, that's a success. Then of course we've got cards. Machete, you know, so these are items. There are also spells in here. Focus days, these are conditions, restrained, flesh ward. Insane. Yes, this game, when you go crazy, you don't just stop the game, but you lose all of the horror cards that you have accumulated and you get an insanity condition. And these insanity conditions apparently change the game objective for the person who has gone insane. Now, there's a lot of criticism about this, especially if you are playing solo, because you're supposed to hide these conditions from everybody else. It's a bit difficult to hide the insanity condition from myself if I'm the only person playing. So I don't know if I'll actually play with them. I might just eliminate this player. We'll see. Then the injury cards, and so basically they have on their backs this heart. And then we also have the Madness cards. They have this brain. And we have more items. So it's actually not as item heavy probably as some of the other games, you know, and it's not as card heavy, I guess. Then of course we've got the investigator cards. Put this back later. So in this game we have Agatha Crane, Carson Sinclair, Father Mateo, he's a Brazilian or a Mexican priest. We have Minty Fan. I hope that they've changed her place of origin because that name is clearly not Chinese. Preston Fairmont, the millionaire. I've never seen this one. Rita Young, the athlete. Yeah, the question is she, you know, because the backstory reads like she was being hunted down by the Ku Klux Klan, but a lot of people say that the portrait actually portrays a white person, so there was a discussion, were FFG whitewashing the game? I don't think so. Wendy Adams, William Yorick. Nice selection there. And then we've got something that is very important for anyone who's got the first edition, and that's the so-called conversion kit. Because it comes with a conversion kit, and I think Descent actually came with a conversion kit that you had to buy separately. So this time around they didn't, they actually put it in there. You've got the monster tiles for the monsters from the first edition with the new stats. And you've got all of the first edition's statistics for the relevant investigators. Ashton Pete, Gloria Goldberg, Harvey Walters, Michael McGlenn, Sister Mary, Daryl Simmons, Dexter Drake. So that's actually quite helpful and very nice. One could of course also just take the Arkham Horror standees from other games and use them instead of the miniatures if you really don't want any miniatures in your game, and there might be people who don't. So if you've got, like I do, almost every other game that they've ever published, I will probably make, I mean it depends, I was a bit worried about, or I was thinking I might actually use standees instead of miniatures for the investigators. If the quality wasn't so good, because I saw in Descent that I found it sometimes a bit difficult to distinguish between my miniatures because they look very much the same when they're unpainted. But these are actually quite good, so I will probably just spray them today and paint them. So this is the unboxing of the base game. Let's look at the two tile sets. This is actually a very different box. It's much less sturdy. It's more like cheap cardboard. But again, I would say that the art is again really beautiful. So FFG certainly have decided to keep good artwork going. And again we've got the Fantasy Flight X-Wing catalogue thingamabob. We've got the Mansions of Madness Suppressed Memories expansion. How to use this expansion. This expansion provides players with investigator figures, monster figures and map tiles to use in Mansions of Madness 2nd edition. These components were all originally found in the Forbidden Alchemy and Call of the Wild expansions for the Mansion of Madness 1st edition. The conversion kit found in the Mansions of Madness 2nd edition core game provides the rules and materials needed to incorporate these components. Okay, so here we've got, again, tiles. So the monster tiles would be in the conversion kit, and here we've got the miniatures. You actually get a lot. Here again we've got the investigators. These figures are nice. I cannot complain. They are good. They're also already on their bases, so and then we've got ooh, this is a giant one. This is a big one. This is one miniature. This is a bigature. And I've got no idea what this is. If this is the Dunwich Horror. It could be the Dunwich Horror, who knows. And it comes on its huge base. So you could possibly, yeah, these might fit in. Yeah, they actually do. So they've got little, yeah, little pegs. If you were to use a little drill there, you could, a pin vise, for example, you could put this on there. And, or you could simply just cut it off and glue it. So this one wouldn't be a problem. This is actually a really lovely miniature. This one is really well done and it feels really sturdy. Oh no, I think this is actually the Dunwich Horror in there. This is something different. So here we go. Yeah, I actually believe this is the Dunwich Horror. Very impressive miniature, very nice. Possibly some kind of night gaunt, obyaki maybe. I've no idea what this is. Maybe a Shoggoth. Again, I understand what people mean. They feel, yeah. I don't want to say they feel cheap, but they feel somehow light, whereas these definitely feel different. So, again, it's, I want to point out that you don't need the miniatures to play. Because you don't have like you do in Descent, you don't have small squares that you have to move the minis around, but you have areas in which they move, and it doesn't really make any difference if the area isn't and here you've got more bases, isn't really fully covered, so you don't really have to count squares, you count areas, so it's much less important, and you can also just use the monster tiles instead. And I think I would use this because they have the normal artwork which I'm used to, and they are simply lovely. I mean, okay, so these are the tiles which I will leave to one side, and then finally, my battery is almost running out, so I'll be quick about this. We have the Mansions of Madness Recurring Nightmares expansion. Again, we've got tiles. We've got information, this is how this works, sheet. We've got investigators, Ashcan Pete, no, yes, Ashcan Pete is in there. And here we've got more bigatures, as I would like to call them. So big miniatures, possibly a Chthonian I can see here. Yeah, the small ones again are the brittle ones, but the big ones, they really feel solid and good. So, and here you've got the bases. Like I said, I mean, it's less important to use these. I think for the gameplay, it's more important to have the actual tiles, because you can always use the monster chits instead of the miniatures. So the miniatures, I mean, somebody said, you know, why do they actually bother with miniatures? We've never had them before in any of the other games, and they're just basically there to, you know, raise the price on these. Of course, if you have a miniatures game, it'll be more expensive to produce than just putting together a game that simply, in inverted commas, simply contains chits. I don't know why they went for miniatures in the beginning and at all. Because you could have just played this like you play Arkham Horror, and I know a lot of people who actually say, well, I'm just going to use my Standees even for the investigators. It was a decision they made. I don't know, I don't recall when Mansions of Madness First Edition first came out, but it could be that that was during a time when miniature games were simply all the rage and they felt that they had to bring one out, although they had a strong franchise with Descent. But maybe they just wanted to push Arkham Horror into the area of miniature gaming as well. Like I said, I never played the original because I can't play opposed games. I don't like it. I don't like to play opposed board games or asymmetric board games unless they are war games, in which case it's very different for me. And so I never really got into the first edition. But here we have the second edition. It's an unboxing, and I hope you enjoyed it. I will definitely play, and I will definitely record some of my playthroughs. I'm not quite sure how I will do this because I don't know how to record the app to make it look good. We'll see what I'll do there. But until then, I wish you a very happy Christmas, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.